to a new episode of Hallmark Heartbeats, a podcast all about Hallmark movies. I'm your host, Camille. And again, I am joined by my friend Kayla as we talk Christmas movies. And we have a special guest with us, star of many Hallmark movies, including Operation Christmas, Reunited at Christmas. Most recent is Time for Them to Come Home for Christmas, and Lifetime's Christmas with a Crown, which another awesome movie. And God, the list could go on. Miss Lisa Durupt.
Hey!
You are, like we said, you've done pretty much so many Christmas movies. It's like crazy.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened. Honestly, I started with just one, like everybody else. And then I think I just had really great experiences in the first, second, third few that I did, that it just became a tradition. And I think a lot of us that live in Vancouver, that's where I'm based, up in Vancouver, Canada, they film a fair bit of their, not even just their Christmas slate, but a lot of the other Hallmark movies. And we just are really fortunate. We get to audition for a lot of them. We get asked to do them once you've worked with a bunch of people or the same group of people. So it just has become a tradition for me to do. And I think because they're well received, they play again and again. And so people will call me up, especially this time of year, and go, "Oh my God, I just saw your face on this. I just saw this. I saw this." And you realize it's a movie from 10 years ago or 8 years ago. And like I said, we don't sometimes remember. We remember the people, you remember sometimes the storyline, but you don't really always remember what it's called. So you kind of have to go back and go, okay, wait, which one was that? But it's sweet. I love that people still love them because they're fun. They're fun to do. It's Christmas, for gosh sakes.
Yeah. It's like a Christmas tradition, Hallmark.
Yeah.
Totally. Are you a Hallmark fan outside of just working for Hallmark? Like, do you watch the
totally. Yeah, totally. And from the non-actor point of view, yes, because they're changing more now. Like I think they're really trying to create an even bigger brand that is more inclusive, which I love because it's about time. I think you kind of know what to expect in a good way. I mean, the other day, my niece, who's I think she was 9 when she said it. We were talking about how a couple years ago she mentioned, I guess her and her brother were watching one, and her brother was like, "Ooh, they're gonna kiss," and she just stopped him dead. And she's like, "No, it's Hallmark. They can only kiss once at the end of the movie and no tongue." And I was like, "She's right." You know what to expect, and they're positive and they're fun. And then all of a sudden, this Hallmark drinking game came out a few years ago, which is really fun if you haven't played it. So yeah. I do like them. Even if I wasn't in them, I would still watch them. I would still like them. And it's tradition. We all like tradition.
Now though, they don't just do last Christmas, last kiss on the last scene anymore. So you might be careful.
Yeah, right? I know, it's getting all racy up in there. I was like, I'm not opposed to it. There's some good looking men in Hallmark.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You played many of the leading ladies' sisters, including Nikki Deloach.
Yeah.
The question here says, who's your favorite sister, and who would you like to play if you were to lead? Who would you like to play your sister?
Ooh, good question. That's tough. That's kind of like asking which one of your kids you like best. I've never had a bad experience, and I'm pretty outgoing, and I'm pretty much that person that'll tell people what I think, even if other people might get offended. So I would tell you if there was anyone that I didn't like, or didn't get along with, but I got along with all of them. Like Tricia Helfer was awesome because I just knew her as like the Canadian supermodel who became an actress. And so it was, to me, kind of iconic to meet her. And she was the nicest thing on two legs. I was so spoiled to work with her. And I still, to this day, every now and then, we'll text and keep in touch. And she's great. She's so available all the time. She's just a sweetheart. Allison Sweeney was, I was gobsmacked when I got to work with her the first time, and that became very much a sister relationship because that's been years now. And even the other day, she's working on a show with someone that I know, and she texted me a picture of the two of them, and because she thought I would want to know. And yeah, I've learned so much from a business point of view from her. So I'm super grateful for that relationship. But I think she's very fierce. And the one bit of advice I took from her was one day she looked really nervous and she had to go make a phone call that was asking, for something in the business. And it was somebody high exec and she did it. And I said, what's wrong? And she goes, when you want to puke? I said, yeah. She goes, that's just your spine reminding you that it's there and you really need to use it. And I was like, whoa, that's very good advice. And she had to do that. So it's cool to see someone like her who's so confident and strong and so good at getting what she wants in this industry, to see that she gets nervous too, but she's able to work through it. So for that, I'm super grateful for her. And then Ashley Williams I just didn't stop laughing. We just kept getting in trouble because she's one of the funniest humans on two legs. And then Nikki, I don't know, Nikki is her own kind of angel, man. That girl, I met her and within, I think, one day, she heard I was coming to LA for something and she goes, oh, you're going to stay with me. I hardly knew her. We had one day of shooting. I think we had a couple scenes, but like not really a lot that day. And I went, what? And then I started to put the pieces together that she used to be in the Mickey Mouse Club. And I was like, what? Like I had totally fangirled on her as a kid. So she's just become like, she's like a limb to me. Like I would be lost without her. And so I rely a lot on her for just life in general, not just the business, but as a human. I follow her lead a lot and I ask her for a lot of advice. And I really do. I think that's one person that was brought into my life for so many beautiful reasons, but I'm so grateful for her. So yeah.
She's the nicest person.
She is. And I think that's what's cool about Nikki. And I think that's why people respond to her, is there really isn't an insincere bone in that woman's body where she is, there's no angle, there's no her like she genuinely just wants other people to do well. And that in this business can be refreshing because that's, it's not always the case. And so, yeah, so that's it. I can't tell you, like, I genuinely have never had a bad experience with sisters, but I think that's part of the brand of Hallmark, is that I don't think those people last if they're like that. I think eventually, whether it be karma or the executives, they just kind of move them on to something else or just don't, reinvite them to the party.
Yeah.
But who would you like to play your sister if you were to have the leading lady role in a Hallmark movie?
Well, I think there's a really adorable actress in Vancouver that hasn't really had her due yet. She's one of my dear friends. Her name is Ashley Alexander. We look a lot alike. We have a lot of the same energy. Like she's bubbly, but she's more the yin to my yang when it comes to, she's super polite where I'll say what maybe is on my brain and I shouldn't say out loud. And then I just get this look from her and I'm like, and I'll think about that. So Ashley Alexander, if fans don't know who she is, they should go find her. She's fantastic. And she's a great little actress. So that's on the bucket list. If that goes down with Hallmark, then that would be on the bucket list for sure. Yeah.
Well, time for them to come home for Christmas. You play Annie, who is Jessy Schram's character's sister.
Oh my God, I forgot about Jessy Schram. She's going to kill me. She was also fantastic. The hardest hugger I've ever met. I thought I was going to suffocate and we would laugh and there'd be like fuzz in my mouth from her sweater. She is an intense hugger, you guys. She's tiny, but she's like a beast. So yeah, sorry, continue.
No, I love her. She's like one of my favorite Hallmark actresses.
She's amazing.
And she's a great singer.
There you go.
I think that was one of our criticisms, is that she didn't sing in this movie. So
that's great.
So my question, how was it working with Jessy?
Jessy, well,
do you have any behind the scenes secrets?
She's great. I'll tell you, remember how I said I say things? Because so I walked in the first day and I was so excited to meet her. And I said to her, oh my God, I loved you in Pitch Perfect. And she goes, that was Anna Camp. And I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, well, I really liked Anna Camp and I'm really sorry, but you would have been much better. Like I tried to like backpedal and she laughed so hard. And so that was our first introduction. And from then I was like, we were just bonded. Like she's like, oh my God, we're the same person. I said, I know. And so, yeah,
she does look like Anna Camp though.
Everybody has somebody, right? Like when I'm blonde, I always get Kristen Bell. And so we were laughing. We were kind of sharing stories about like Anna Camp at moments, not always, because she's definitely, I'm sure, had wins over Anna Camp in theory. Like I always get Kristen Bell and I'm like, Kristen Bell's everywhere. Like, how do you, when people say that, what do you say? You're like, yeah, she is fantastic. The world already has one, but thank you. Like, what do you say? So you can't, and Kristen Bell's amazing. So like I love her too. But yeah, we kind of had a good laugh about that, about how everyone has a doppelganger. And there is also something very lovely to be referred to that as somebody who everybody else really adores. You're like, oh, that's cool. Like you see me in that light. But no, her and I laughed so hard about so many things. We just have the same silly sense of humor. And so we had a lot of moments where, you know, you kind of get in trouble because you're laughing so hard, your makeup's running, or just being silly together. We just got along so well. The thing about Jessy that I love is exactly what you would expect her to be like. She is. There's no, like, it's not any different off camera or on camera. She just is that person. She's very playful. She's very fun. She's very easygoing. Yeah, she's great.
I wanted you and your character and Jessy's character were kind of fighting. You know,
Yes.
you all had like a full on like 1 year silence between each other. And you didn't like each other.
No, you got it. You got it. Yeah, they had not spoken in, I think we decided it was a year, like a full year, which I have a sister. I can't, I mean, my sister and I will be honest, we didn't really get along when we were younger, but as we got to be adults, like we're inseparable. We talk all the time. I can't imagine going a full year.
Yeah, same here. I have two brothers. And
I did it too. I have a sister and I can't imagine not communicating at all with her.
I will say within my extended family, there definitely are pockets of people that for different reasons, that was it. They just stopped talking. And so it wasn't that far removed that it seemed completely out of the, and I think it happens to more people than we think. Because I think it's one thing to get busy and not talk to your friends or what have you, like certain people, depending on where your life goes, for a year or two, and then you pick up right where you left off. But when it's from a point of view of you're angry at someone, I think that takes a lot of energy to stay that angry for that long.
A year.
Yeah, that's intense. And
thank God for your character's husband.
Right? When we shot it, the director, we did a couple takes and then he came in, Peter Benson. He's so great. People will know him from Aurora Tea Garden and who knows what else. He's great. But he came in, he's like, I need you guys to like really go at it. And we both went, oh no, you can't do that at Hallmark. And they're like, oh no, you can now. And we went, okay. so we were like, that's it, game on. And so we went for it. And we were sure we were going to have to do ADR where you re-record your lines to the right. We're like, they're going to tone it down. They're going to make us tone it down. But no, they kept it. So we were shocked. We went, okay, for the win. The Beyond.
I like this new Hallmark where it's like real, like gritty and people.
Yeah, well, I think, like I think with the Mystery Channel, the Drama Channel, there's room for everything. And I think, I know some people won't like it because people are very comfortable with certain things, but I think you have to, like anything, you have to grow. Your business has to grow. And so I think it's smart that they're including some new things or keeping some of the old. It's just someone's always gonna love it and some people won't. You just go, okay.
Well, with the Mystery Channel, you get away with a lot more stuff. It gets very, very deep, and you can get away with it a lot better.
I personally like Miracles of Christmas more than I like the Countdown to Christmas movies, mostly because of that, the whole this anyway. But one of the things that we're talking about in our review was like, why is she mad at her sister for trying to pursue her dreams? Like, she should be supportive and be like, go for it. I'll take care of things. And even Kayla was like, the insurance could take care of nursing homes.
Right? Yeah. Well, that was one of the questions we had as a group. We're like, why is she so, but then we started talking about it. And there was little moments in the script that mentioned it where basically Jessy's character keeps always having new ideas and she never follows through on them. And so in order for that to actually make sense, Peter had mentioned, and him and I talked about it, how my character had to genuinely be the type of person that has got everything together, is very driven and motivated. And so in her brain, it doesn't make sense that somebody else is always stopping and quitting and stopping and quitting and that kind of, or starting and quitting and starting and quitting.
So you're like the responsible sister.
Yeah, basically it's like someone almost having an addiction to starting things and stopping them, that you've tried. And now it's like, yet again, her sister's doing this thing that she knows is going to fail. And in the meantime, the side story being that now this older sister is left to take care of the parents, because yet again, Jesse's character is going to, go off to her thing and not uphold her end of something she's responsible for. So that was the only way we could really make it make sense without my character just being a biatch, because I didn't that. Well, the thing is, it's hard when you're not the lovable characters, right? Like there's a fine balance you have to make. What I was taught was you have to make, if you're the villain or the not lovable character, you have to make the audience love you on some level, or they won't care at all. Like they'll just be done with you. You're just mean. You're just a biatch, right? Then we're rooting for you to fail. So the idea, like in the kitchen, when she breaks down and it's like, it's really because she's her sister and she wants her to do well, but she's just so worried that she's yet again doing this and that it hurts her to see this, was the only way to justify it for us. That's a really good question. I'm glad you picked up on that.
We love the movie. The movie was good. There were some things that we did not like about the movie.
That's every movie, right? But I'm curious. What didn't you love? What didn't you guys like about it? I love hearing
isn't there like some kind of crossing the boundaries with the nurse and the patient falling for each other? Isn't character like crossing the major line there?
Interesting. I'd be so curious, any of your listeners who work in like the medical field, if they're going
no,
yeah, or if they're going no, because I know a couple that are a doctor and a nurse, and they are fantastic, but they definitely got together on shift in a hospital. And so all those things you see on Grey's Anatomy, they're like, well, we're not going to go into detail, but those were written because somewhere in the world somebody did that. And I was like, shut the front door. They're like, no, seriously, that stuff happens. So I don't know.
Yeah, most medical dramas pull their storylines from the headlines. So
yeah, right.
We have another podcast.
We have another podcast about a medical drama. So the resident. Yeah.
Got. Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
And then the other thing was like, that's a really fast romance, because like that was a 2-day trip.
Yeah, that's Hallmark, man. You fall in love. You can fall in love in 10 minutes in those movies. It's like you literally just like run into each other and you're like, whoa. That's why everyone loves them, because it's like, it's the thought that could happen. Because
also Kayla's thing is like, it doesn't snow in South Carolina.
I'm actually from South Carolina, born and raised, and I live in the upstate, not on the coastline, but I'm like, we don't get snow in December. That's not right.
Hilarious. Yeah, but it's Christmas, right? They have to make it look like,
and definitely not in Charleston. It's just too humid down there for them to get snow.
Oh, that's too funny. You're just blowing them out of the water left, right, and center.
I was like, nope.
Hallmark.
Sorry, dude. Nope. Christmas with the Crown. You executive produced that movie. And so what does that entail when you produce the movie?
Oh my God. That's a feast. Well, you have to think about it.
For those who don't know exactly what it is.
Producer is kind of one of those weird titles that people are like, it's like when someone says they're a consultant and you're like, that sounds fancy, but what the heck is that? And there's different levels, right? I always think consultants are so fancy. And I'm like, there's no job in university that you're trying for that you're like, or working towards that you're like, oh, I'm a consultant. But it makes them sound really fancy. But they, for this one, when you go from an executive producer point of view, it looks either you're somebody who put money into it or you're somebody who creatively has really helped mold the story. And so for this one, my part involved was just to really creatively try to make this, because you have the script that's already been, flushed out and the writer is very passionate about. And so it's a case of trying to make sure that the story is staying on track for the brand that you're working with. Mm-hmm. And at that time we hadn't sold it. It's called an acquisition, where you make it ahead of time and then sell it to Hallmark or to Lifetime. So we were trying to be careful about where we were going with it. And so my job, and then when Marcus came on, him as well, was to try to make sure that it stayed so in the pocket, so to speak, so that if we took it to Hallmark or Lifetime, that they would say, oh yeah, that's something that we recognize and that's something we could put on our channel. And so, yeah, it worked out great with Lifetime. So we were really excited about that. But there's different levels. And then there's always producers that like, they're on set all day and that's their job. And so when you're in it and you're part of the production team, it's kind of double duty because you're having to make sure on the fly that things are working. And then when you're not, you're trying to problem solve with your team. And it's, yeah, it's pretty crazy, but it was fun. And it was definitely challenging because it's long hours on top of what you're doing with shooting, but it was a really great group. So I think it all worked out really well, exactly like it was supposed to. So for my first experience, it was really, I was in good hands. So that was comforting because I think that doesn't always work for everybody.
How was it working with Marcus? He's another Hallmark darling too. Like,
yeah, Marcus is great. Marcus is fun. Him and I, we can laugh now, but the first week, I think we both, because this was both of our first time doing any kind of executive producing. And so I had been brought on before Christmas, and then he was brought on, I guess, about a month before we shot. So we'd already done a bunch of work on it. And then he came on and we were both super passionate about our choices. And so it took us like a week to really, because we felt each other for the first week, like wasn't listening to the other one, but we were both being super polite about it because we're professionals, right? And finally he's like, do you want to go for dinner on the Sunday? And I said, sure. And then he kind of admitted that he was frustrated. I was like, oh my God, me too. And so yeah, we were able to talk and then it was awesome because he's fun and he's playful and he's silly. And so we ended up getting along great by the end of it. And I think I can speak for myself. I can't speak for him, but because it was more challenging for the first time ever with a co-star at the beginning, because we were able to talk through it and work it out, it was probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've had working with somebody. Because, you know, when you kind of go through your career dealing with people, people I think assume that if you get along on camera, that's not always the case. But sometimes when you work with someone, if it's a case of, you know, you maybe aren't meant to be good buds, you'll just be very professional and not even worry about trying. But in this case, because we were both really invested in the film from a totally different point of view, being the executive producers, we had to work together and figure it out on such a bigger level that it was important, I think, to both of us to make sure that we were also good friends, you know, as we were shooting. So it took us, I will say it took us about a week to get the training wheels off. But then once we did, it was awesome. And he's playful. He's exactly what you want to see. He's playful. He's fun. He's silly. He's smart. He's a really nice guy. And
what different points of view were you coming from?
Well, I think like in certain scenes, because we were both kind of looking at our character's point of view, we would, you know, kind of come up against things where one of us would suggest, well, what about the, you know, shouldn't it be more like this? And then the other one would be like, I don't think so. I think it should be more like this. So it was just more of the character's point of views, you know, story wise. But I think that's the other thing too, being new executive producers, there's always an ongoing discussion of what's best for the story. And I think you know, I can't speak again for him, but I can speak for myself where I think I learned a lot of lessons in that. It's sometimes being an executive, you realize maybe the story points you're fighting for aren't best for the whole story. So eventually you do have to drop those and go with what's best for the group. And so, yeah, that was, it was a good learning lesson for sure that I'll take with me and everything else I do moving forward. But no, he's great. He's great. And I think there's a reason people love him. He's great to work with. He's a great actor. He's a really good dude. So he was great. No other juicy gossip. That's it.
Where were you guys filmed? Where was that?
Oh my Lord. We shot in Edmonton, which I think was another initial point of friction was because he's from there. He's from Edmonton. So he was so excited to bring it home. But no, it was great. Like it was so cold when it needed to be cold. There was an ice skating rink scene. And by the end of it, we shot it overnight. By the end of it, we were so frozen. If you look really carefully where I tell him I'm going back to, I think where was she from? I don't even remember, New York or something. My lips are so frozen. It looks like I had the biggest injection put in them and I don't put anything in my lips. And so it was just like, okay, how are you talk? I was like, good. It was ridiculous. When we started laughing so hard when we saw the cut. I was like, are we keeping that? And they're like, well, we'll do it really fast. I was like, okay. So if you look really close, there's a split second where I'm looking at him and I'm like, and it sounds like I'm slurring, but it's because I can't feel from pretty much my nose down. Like it was so cold. It was -30 Celsius, which I think when it gets to -40, it's even Fahrenheit and Celsius. Like it's so cold. It was freezing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
And
crazy.
I give credit to all his friends and family because they came out and they did a lot of background work with us, and they were such troopers all night. Like we were dying, but they were such.
Do you have any future works in the plans?
Yeah, I just I have it's I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about it other than it's a scripted podcast that's being made into a series. It's a horror series, and so that I can't say anything about it too much yet, but that's coming out in the new year. And then I don't know, I just had a callback for something yesterday that would, if it would land, I'm not sure, but that would be amazing. So fingers crossed on that. And it's completely on Hallmark, so we'll see, but either way, yeah, for sure. I've got this new series coming out, which is really exciting and totally different. That it's not Hallmark and it ain't Lifetime, that's for sure. So to be continued.
We want more Hallmark. We love it.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like you should be a lead on Hallmark finally.
Man, you could help it. If fans ask, it'll happen. It's just people always ask me why I haven't been. And I think it's, if the fans are very vocal about something, they respond to it. And I think up until now, I really never pushed for it because I get to work with some really great people. And
Yeah.
I think I'd be sad if that went away. I wouldn't, even if I was a lead, I wouldn't always want to be the lead. I like being the sidekick. She tends to be the more fun of the two, but yeah, I think if Hallmark fans ask for it, I think Hallmark will listen. I don't know. We get to work on a lot of different things up in Vancouver, so I never really hyper focus on that. But yeah, again, if y'all want it, just ask for it. I'm sure they'll listen. I'll do it. It would be fun. It would be super fun for sure. I love Bruce Greenwood. I've never met him, but he's on my list of like, I hope to God one day we work together.
A sweet heart. He gave us. Yeah, he gave us, because he was Captain Pike in Star Trek, the new ones. He gave us like inside scoop on filming from set. He got to meet Leonard Nimoy before he passed away.
Can I tell you a story about Leonard Nimoy? Can I tell you a quick story?
Yes.
So, yeah, sorry. Years ago when I was serving, I had first moved to Vancouver. This was like a long time ago. And I was working at this little boutique hotel called the Loden Hotel. And I went upstairs because I was a lounge server, and they had me do, what do you call that? In-room dining one night because one of the people didn't show up, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I walked up and I dropped off this man's breakfast, and he comes to the door, and it's Leonard Nimoy. And I just stood there. I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to do. I was like, and he goes, hello. And I just stared, and I was like, hello. And he's like, not who you were expecting. And I was like, I don't know what I was expecting. And he started laughing. And so, yeah, we had a great chat. He was really lovely. And then he was there quite frequently. I can't remember what he was working on, but he was lovely. He was always very nice. And he would always be like, hi, Lisa. And I was like, oh my God. Like, it's so silly, right? Like, but he was one of the people that I couldn't believe it was him. And he was very nice.
Yeah, and the other thing Bruce did was he played his guitar. So he played like a mini concert inside the podcast.
See, yeah. I knew I would love that man. Any man with a guitar, I'm butter. That's it. I'm melting.
You know what's so funny is when you said it back when you were serving, I thought you meant like in the military.
I was not.
My first thought was, oh, she was in the military? Was that?
I would be kicked out of the military in a heartbeat. I never shut up. I am so bad sometimes, like especially as a kid. I don't know, I was so jokey that I was really bad with authority, not in a rude, meant to be rude way, but it ended up being rude because I just would never stop talking. I tried to be a background performer when I was younger. Like when I first got into this business, I got sent home because I wouldn't stop talking. I would be I'm probably exactly what the military is for. And I would be like, I'm not good. I would not last. I have major respect for everybody who can do it. I would just be like laughing and giggling and that's it. You're out. Peace out. Okay. No, I was lounge server. That's
why when you were like, back when I was serving, and then you said server, I was like, oh, that's serving.
And you instantly were like, Lisa's a liar. There's no way. And no, definitely, I never served in anything, but man, kudos to people who have.
I read an article where your cousin won the lottery.
My cousin, you can totally say it. My cousin won $5 million on a scratch or on a quick ticket. It was insane. It just happened. Like my mom called me, and my parents are practical jokers. So I always think my dad is not telling the truth. Like, I'll be like, oh, where's the car? He's like, oh, I sold her for $50 to the neighbor. And I'm like, Dad, he's like, just kidding. Like he never tells the truth. And so when they called me and they told me, I was like, right, sure, right. Okay, cool. And then but then I started to think about it because I was like, they both texted me from their phones, but like 2 hours apart, where if they're going to try and like pull a fast one on me, they'll do it together. And so I called my cousin and she's like, yeah, it's crazy. I was like, oh my God. She's like, yeah, the ticket was in the cup holder and we almost spilled coffee on it. We thought, oh, maybe we should check it. And she's like, we just kept staring at it for the longest time when they figured it out. But yeah, it's so sweet. It's just, they're two of the nicest people, and now, of course, now it's like jokes every time we talk to them. You're like, I deserve a tip. It's a great piece of advice. But yeah, they won $5 million. How crazy is that? I want to win a lottery.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know.
Christmas, right?
Yeah, I know. I think it's cooler for his daughters who probably no longer have mortgages. I'm like, hey, Dad, when can you win the lottery?
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
Oh my gosh, anytime.
For like your future. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, anytime, ladies. You're fantastic. Thanks so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Bye.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a Merry Christmas, ladies, or Happy Holidays.
You too, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Okay, bye.
Yes, bye.